Natchitoches Independent School District Board of Trustees. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that notice of this meeting has been legally posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Board members, Reverend Irvin is unable to attend at the moment. He may be joining us later, we'll see. Please join us in switching your cell phone to the silent mode. There's only one item on tonight's agenda, a budget workshop, and I will call on Miss Lisa Margaret to begin.
All right, tonight should be pretty quick. With the turnover we've had, we're running behind. So, we're speeding things up here at the end of the year here, so we can get our budget adopted on a timely basis. So what you have in front of you is a preliminary budget. The first column is our current budget. The second column is what we adopted, and the third column is our projected. Some things to note. Pretty much revenue is status quo. The only thing that's quite different is investments. We're doing very well on our investments. That's just because, not because I'm doing a great job, but because interest rates are up. And indirect costs, I've been making a concerted effort to, indirect costs are funds we get that we are able to glean from federal funds to help pay for like just me or, you know. So it's not, and it's not that we're using it for me, but it's money that we can use that has no strings attached. So we can still use it for the same thing. It just, I don't know, I just think that's a win-win when we use it that way.
And you feel comfortable, I mean, that's pretty significant, doubling that over the last budget year. You feel pretty
That's
confident that you'll be able to
Yes, that's what we
meet
got
that?
last year.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we're looking at a total revenue of almost $51 million. And the biggest decline is our SHARs. We always get a one-time settlement every year. I don't budget that until we receive it, because we don't know what it's gonna be until we start the year.
So the $500,000 is just kind of a, is that SHARs where I see a $500,000?
SHARs,
So
yes.
that's just kind of a generic holding?
Well, we do get an amount every quarter,
Okay.
but there's a large amount that comes in. Like last year it
So
was
the
$600,000.
The $500,000 is what you know for sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Before we move to expenses, I noticed
Drop in the other local income.
yeah, well, yeah, there are a couple of things I just circled here.
Oh, okay.
Other local income, we're down
Okay,
to 10, is that
right.
being moved somewhere?
That is a combination of donations, which we don't budget donations to receive it, but we received a grant, a one-time grant this past year of
Okay.
$124,000.
Gotcha. And then, game receipts, I see it's basically a $16,000 increase there. That's pretty significant for game receipts.
That's
You feel
what, that's,
comfortable with
we
that?
received more than that this year.
Okay. So
It's,
that's-
I think it's because we rent the facilities more often. Due to the new alignment, school alignments, a lot of schools rent our facilities for their events.
Mhm.
Like this year, we had, I believe, 8 soccer games playoff, which never had
Oh,
before.
wow.
Right, which I built in an incentive into the athletics budget that if he gets those game receipts up, he gets
He
more
gets
income. So it's an
Very nice.
incentive for him to,
host those events.
right, and to, I know he doesn't give out as many free tickets as he used to. So they're making efforts because he knows that's the only way he's gonna get more money.
And the increase in per capita apportionment, what was that?
That's our state aid.
Okay.
So that, basically, it's the state aid and foundation entitlements.
Yeah, I had that one
That
circled
it-
too, because I
right.
saw a difference.
Their calculations, so as the year goes by, it may shift, it stays the same amount, in total, but it shifts between per capita and foundation. And, you know, I'm not exactly sure why that is,
Yeah, I was curious about that too.
but every year, it starts off where foundation is lower and per capita is higher, and then as the year goes by, when I recalculate, it flip-flops.
That is interesting. Something with the complex state funding formula.
Just to keep us confused.
And I noticed the TRS care was up. Has the state increased their participation in that?
On behalf, is that what you're talking about?
Mhm.
That is, all that is,
Premium increases.
well, no, it's an in and an out.
Okay.
It's the state's portion of our retirement, so you have to record a revenue in the exact same amount as your expense.
Gotcha.
The same thing with Medicare on behalf. But it will increase as our salaries go up, then it will go up, but so will the revenue.
Yep,
It's
makes
always a
sense.
wash.
It's the in out, gotcha. It's where it's shown as, I got it.
Now, this state, this is not, in federal, does not include title or state
No,
company.
no, that federal, we get about $3,000 for national forest funds. The indirect costs that come from federal, SHARs and Medicaid, those aren't title or anything like that.
Any other questions on the revenue side before we move on to expenses?
All right, we have been doing a lot of studying of our personnel, and I've been analyzing department expenditures and campus expenditures to make this work. And this is where we are right now. We see, I'm showing, and by the way, just so you know, by function, the 11, 12, 13, 21, that's sort of a guess on my part right now, because the principals and the departments haven't allocated it.
So
Yeah.
11, 12, and 13 are assumptions, correct?
Well, all of them are, all of them are,
Okay.
except for like, transportation isn't, 41 isn't. But where the campuses, they split their funds up between instruction and, staff development and instructional leadership. So yes, I guess in what you said is right, it's more of the 11, 12, 13, 23 are guesstimates.
That's not personnel, right?
No, personnel is mixed in everywhere in all of these.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you, like under the social work, is there?
That's the social workers,
Is that their, including their
their salary.
salaries?
Yes, yes.
Uh,
So,
I'm sorry,
Okay.
yeah, are we still counting on high school having that number of administrators? 11 assistant principals?
no, we are not.
Okay.
So you'll see that currently our budget is 55.6 million, where we have brought it back down to 51.7 million. No, we knew we could not sustain the model that we had adopted. But the goal was to get us out of IR really fast, and so we just pushed everything we could into it, but now we've got to draw back.
Ms. Barbara, is that,
Oh, excuse me, let's turn it off.
Sounds
Yes,
good.
Mr. Neal.
down to transportation, you know, food, we were talking one time about the possibility of the ride within the 2 mile. Is there any more food for thought for that?
Currently, there is not.
We talked about that, and I felt that the time I arrived was too late for me to start trying to push for that, and giving parents notification, having adequate communication and discussion with you guys as well. So it's something to think about, but I don't think we're not gonna try to do it this fall. My thinking is, we gotta get kids to school, and for many, this is their only way. So that's something I wanna look at as a last measure, is cutting that service. I'm not saying that we won't, in future years, but for this year, we have no plans to cut it back.
Thank you.
But that's the 2 mile. We're still looking at our staggered start
Yes.
times
Yeah.
and just controlling personnel costs and everything else. So we brought our expenditures down to 51.7 million.
Still working on it.
So what you see there, you see a change in fund balance of a negative 772,974. That is the second bus payment, which we plan to take out of fund balance. We took half of it out this current year, and then the second half will come out next. Probably what I will do is, I will go ahead, we'll adopt a budget without that negative, and then pull it out, just so that we have a sort of a clean start, even though we know we're gonna do it.
What are you expecting specifically to increase in community services? Just so we'll know.
We are gonna discuss that in the compensation plan. Can we do it then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I may have the same question on instructional leadership as well. Is that may be a compensation fund question, or
Yes.
21?
Something change in our debt service?
Yep, and that one too.
The bus payment.
That's what's in that one, okay.
Mhm.
That's where the payment came up?
Yes.
This is my first year going through this, so I'm trying to educate myself. When I look at those listed checks written, we have large number of consultants with high amount. Where are they built in?
They could be in curriculum development, if they're working with teachers, which I believe is where most of them are. Sammy, you might be able to answer that
Yeah,
the best.
most of them, and honestly, we don't have any content specialists, like, most districts this size have a math, we do have the 2 literacy specialists, but we usually have math, science, and social studies, and so by contracting at a much lesser rate, we're able to provide teachers with training based on, their math, like math content, science content. So, one day I would hope that maybe we'd have a full-time position in that, but right now this helps fill the gap. So most of it is instruction. And then the federal programs, that process all of the departments with the federal programs.
By the way, again, it's my education. What kind of, is there a certain rate that we offer, or a certain rate they request? How do we pay those people? Is whatever they ask?
Sam?
No. It's not whatever they request, and actually last year, we negotiated one to come down significantly on their rate, and they chose not to come down. Now, people like Lead Forward that we contract, they have their set rate. These content people, Stacey Grant that works with Matt, she charges, I think, $850 a day. Martha Lee changes hers based on if she's working with teachers or supporting kids in the classroom. So it varies, from 500, or it could be 250. She's given us a special rate to work at Fredonia and Carpenter with kids more often. So it sort of depends on what they're doing with that.
Okay, again, my curiosity is, for example, I look at one individual makes 1,000 one time, 1,050 the next time. Are they in one day, or what period?
Are you looking at the check register?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, with just looking at the check register, we can't tell you if we're paying them for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, without pulling that actual check and looking at that. So just the change in
Yeah.
amount could be because we're paying them for more days.
Okay.
It's hard to tell.
Then, do they, let's say those consultant, do they get per checks per month, or they may get it in the middle of the month?
We cut checks twice a
Yeah.
week.
Right.
So when they submit their invoice,
Yes, ma'am.
we start processing it immediately, so they could get it. But they'll only submit their invoice at most once a month.
I'm
Sometimes
look-
they only submit it
Yes,
twice a
ma'am,
month.
I'm sorry taking time, I just wanna be well informed, so when I get home, don't say I didn't know that. I look at the one check written on 12/7/17 for $16.80 for the same person, following 12/14, get for the same check, $20.85.50. So, I mean, it's only 1 week, did she work, or she is involved in the whole week, or 1 day or 2 days? Maybe I'm asking too much, I don't know, but I'd like to know exactly.
You know what, you are welcome to call me anytime at our office, and, I mean, I don't even know who you're talking about,
Yeah,
so.
well, it's not good to mention the name,
Right.
but I give the date, you can look at it, 12/7/17, 4,000, 12/19/17, 5,000. Same person,
5,000,
5,000,
12/17,
yes, ma'am. Then the same person in March 6, 2018, 9,000.
So,
I'll have to look that up.
That sounds like somebody that's here currently.
If it is,
well,
no,
But
You know
isn't,
what?
but
the
isn't
label
this
was
contract?
We did
contracted
with-
services.
We did contract with Marley Summers to work with HR and special ed, so she could be billing under two different things, because if
Is
she
it-
went to the board, it was about a $60,000 contract that, she took to the board back there, so she's, you know, it is almost a part-time position for what she
Is the
does.
last name Summers on
No, ma'am.
there? No? Okay, well then it's not her. Okay.
We'll find out.
Another, we have, again, I'm not hesitating to mention the name, former chief of police, Doug Plow,
Mhm.
is on a contract or what? What kind of contract?
Currently, he's on a contract.
He is not living in Nacogdoches, correct?
No, he does not.
Okay, so how often he comes to get,
It's been every other week.
and how many days he stays here?
I'd have to look at his contract. He works here every other week, though.
Okay, and,
I get that. Well, that's kind of getting into the
Well,
fine minutia of.
no, Mr. Green.
This is a budget workshop.
I understand, I like to know, so I feel like comfortable knowing things.
I understand, but
Yeah.
that's kind of getting into details that are not a board's decision.
Well, I did say, I'm just questioning to be informed. It's not that I'm saying do it this way or do it that way. I just question to be informed.
I understand. That needs to be done.
What I would ask is,
Yes, sir.
is bring those and we'll meet with you
Great,
and look at them.
very good, thank you.
Any other questions on the expenditure side?
I just had a general question, Mr. Fraley, I heard something about the decrease in the administration and assistant principals and things, and Lisa said something about we were making a big push to get these out of IR, and now we have to pull back. I'm assuming that the administration is very comfortable that even if that pulling back is happening to help the budget, what we've got going that is making a difference in our scores is staying in
Well,
place,
so-
and we have the resources to keep that in.
Right.
We're not gonna see a
Right, what we're trying to
consistent
do is
decrease in-
we're trying to make smart decisions and focusing on where we absolutely need it and pulling back where we don't.
So in other words, you feel confident that even by making those decreases and savings in money, that what we have going that's showing us better scores is continuing?
What I'm looking at is how are we actually using the folks we're paying? The model of instruction was not necessarily what we were paying for the additional APs at the high school. There was kind of a theory or philosophy about you gotta have X number of folks kind of for behavior issues and whatnot. And when you improve instruction, improve overall culture and climate, that takes care of that versus hiring APs for it all the time.
So the decreases are not just in the instructional part,
Oh, no.
it's covering, it's general and covering all areas, okay.
Yes,
That-
yes.
That answers.
No, the instructional model is pretty much gonna be in place, it's just some of the administrative things that we think a different model could be just as efficient or effective.
Great, thank you.
And the instructional decline you see would most likely be in supplies and services than in people. Not necessarily completely, but mostly supplies and services.
Just one note I made, I know this is a work in progress and you guys are kind of working through it and building it. It's, you always have to build budgets off some assumptions. One comment would be, I do have concerns anytime I see instruction, function 11, and even function 13 with our staff development, decreases in those areas always are of concern. So, I say that to encourage as you continue through this budget process to, look everywhere we can to
Well,
maximize efficiency so that
That's
we
what
can
we
put
are
as
doing.
much resources into the classroom and into our teachers as we possibly can.
It's there, and also in overall support. There's a lot of high need out there that we try to have folks deal with beyond the classroom, so they can focus on instruction in the classroom.
Another thing that we're looking at is we are declining in enrollment. So as you decline in enrollment, you should have less teachers. You should need less supplies.
And less administrators also.
Unless your classrooms are overcrowded.
Well, we are trying
It's
to
a master
find a
schedule.
fine line between having too small of classes and not overcrowding.
Yes, great.
So this was presented first, before we move into the compensation schedule, plan, to what is gonna be presented in the compensation plan is in this budget.
Okay.
Okay.
So
To show that you
everything
can
is
afford-
changed
that we can
is
afford
with the
it.
budget.
Wait a minute, one more quick thing. I noticed on the, talking about our fund balance, you're right now anticipating ending the year with a $21 million fund balance. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Another small question on the revenue from, before we move on to that, and revenue, I know that we had a reappraisal. We had some issues last year, we had to have some reappraisal.
Right,
Did that kick in last year's money, or is it kicking in this year?
last year's money.
It was last year's money?
Right, but I believe that I have even still underestimated this year's, so you'll see next year is actually 500,000 higher.
Because I'm thinking, they're not even finished, if I remember right.
Oh, they probably weren't.
That we're not finished with the reappraisal,
Probably not.
and, I'm almost sure that there were some things that are gonna have to be readjusted from the conversation with Gary about, especially some, apartment complexes that are coming down.
I know that's where his big difference was between the state was in
But I
apartment
think
complexes.
you're having to, there's some more
Okay.
coming down the pipe, so your revenue could be fluctuating.
Right, and I don't even have the next year's evaluation, director evaluations. Oh, I just wanted to let you know that I have poured through each department and looked at trends over several years, so that we can, make this budget work. Just about everybody was cut, in their departments, with the exception of, maintenance and operations. They have been, operating on shoestrings basically for years, and they didn't get large increases, but they didn't get a decrease like most people.
A couple things we're looking at is our main thing is teaching and learning. That's our main thing. And we focus a lot of resources in the past appropriately on that. And we're gonna continue with that really as an investment there. But also, as you're losing population, there are reasons for that. And we know that instruction is a piece of it, but also it's perception. And so we have older buildings, and I'm taking a big tour this coming Friday of everything. I've been on several campuses up at the high school for a while today, walked around all over it. Just a lot of little things we need to take to look at to make us more appealing. Because we are really competing with private schools, home schools, charter schools, surrounding school districts. We have 979 kids who've transferred out of Nectar's ISD, and 55 transferred in. And just toying with it, hypothetically, if you say $5,000 per student, that's almost $5 million. What are we gonna do to try to reverse that trend, or are we happy with losing students? See, we're not happy with that. So we have a lot of things to do. Property values are heavily impacted by the school system's perceptive school system. And if we're gonna be looking at declining evaluations, not just because of the protests, but because the original appraisals, evaluations, if they're trending downward, and I don't know yet, we're
They're
looking into that.
trending upwards.
They're trending up, amen to that, but are they trending upward enough to cover the inflation cost, stop right here? And also, how can we invest to keep it even more attractive to folks? So, all those things are factoring in, but the current issue is getting this balanced. And so we'll do some things to get this balanced. Some will be in here. We'll make decisions throughout the year about every expenditure that, if we can do it cheaper, we'll do it. If we do it better and faster and cheaper, even better. And I just really appreciate this lady here.
That's well done, Mr.
Yep,
Carter.
thanks for your work.
Looks really solid. And I do want to publicly note that transportation has been decreased again, so.
I may have darts thrown at me.
Okay.
And Stacy has done a good job this year of watching his expenses and keeping them down.
So,
All right, Board, Interim Superintendent Fraley, we'll take a look at the proposed compensation plan. If I may draw your attention to page 6, we'll start there.
Can I ask a question on page 5? What
Sure.
were we paying the substitute teachers? What did it go up to from?
Uh,
Up to 75 from what?
It is still 75. It was 75 this year. It's remained 75. Our recommendation is that it remains 75,
Okay.
Well, unless you're a long-term sub, so.
unless you're long-term sub, yes. It goes up to 100.
So what do you consider a long-term sub? I'm just curious, how many days do they have to?
20 consecutive days in
20
the same
consecutive
assignment.
days.
Administration's recommendation is, which is included in the proposed budget that Ms. Barber just presented, is to recommend to the board a 2% flat raise for all employees. On page 6, you see the proposed teacher salary schedule. This is a new hire salary schedule. I want to bring that to everyone's attention. Also,
on step, all steps were affected with step 3.
step 3.
Why?
It just was an anomaly. If, what you have to do is you have to take like step 2 and then compare it to the next year, step 3, and that's where you'll see the 2% increase. I'm not
happens
sure why that one particular one didn't
every
work out
year.
that way. You're saying it happens every year, I hadn't noticed.
Mhm.
Mr. Moore, on
Sir.
the beginning teacher salary is recommended 41,000. How does that?
40.
40,000,
Yes.
excuse me, 40,000. How does that compare to the county? We have 9 schools in the county, I guess. Do you have an idea where we are?
It's a very competitive salary for starting for a 0-year teacher. I would say that we are the highest in the county, in the
I don't want to
area.
be the highest.
Well, I know you, yes, sir.
I realize that's what I was asking.
But I would be happy to research that a little further to give you a real solid answer on that. Administration is recommending also no change to the master's degree stipend for teachers teaching in a classroom, as well as a $3,000 critical needs stipend for bilingual teachers teaching in a bilingual classroom.
And are you finding that sufficient to recruit bilingual?
Of course, we would like for it to be more, but it is working out for us. In fact, Ms. Alceda has told me that we have about 4 bilingual teachers right now who are looking to either return to Nacogdoches ISD or coming first time to Nacogdoches ISD. So we feel pretty good about it.
Plus, it's salary and working conditions.
Agreed.
And so we're looking at conditions that people find a little more favorable for whatever reason.
Mr. Martin, I know in years past, times past, there's been some talk about losing teachers here at year 5 or after,
Yes, sir.
and maybe because the competition's pay scales really exponentially pay more than we do.
Mhm.
So my question would be, have you looked at similar situated school districts as best you can, or if you hadn't, are you willing to take a peek? And from a teacher who goes from 0 to 25 years' experience here, they only gain $14,000 in salary over 25 years. I would be curious to know how similar or dissimilar that is to other similarly situated school districts.
Well, okay, if you look at a 25-year teacher making 54,000, 25 years ago, they didn't make 40,000. They made a lot less.
Right. Okay, so that teacher has increased a lot more, so you'd
Yes.
have to really break that down.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, and you would expect then that the teacher starts out at 40 now, if they're here 25 years, maybe they're making 70 then, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, then, so it would be a true comparison by how they're increasing at the different steps to see how competitive, so that if we have people here 5 years, we don't want them leaving, if they're good and we like them and they're teaching our kids, we don't want them leaving because they make more money in a competitive, if we can help it.
Right.
We can definitely look at that, and I think we'll
Yes.
find that we are competitive in our region. If we compare ourselves to Houston, we will not compare.
Now, I would tell you though that the same challenge is all over the state. But what happens is you keep moving your salary schedule so that when at year 25, you move your salary schedule by X% every year.
Correct.
To where they're making, a lot, as you said, a lot more at year 25 than what's currently right there.
Yes.
Correct. But a big challenge that we talked about was the first 5 years and then the second 5 years are very critical times for deciding, do I stay home with my kids or do I stay in the classroom? And so that's something to look at, and that's nothing unique to Nacogdoches. It's just a matter of, we built this with the current reality,
Yes.
with an eye on our aspiration, that we can't control, we can control it a little bit, but we can't project it. And so we can't really budget for the projection, but we do have actually a desire to improve the current reality to where we do attract more students, get the values up, have more revenue, have more offerings.
I can tell you though, teachers don't leave because of money, they leave because of the principal. And you've stabilized, in the last 2 years, we've pretty well stabilized our principalships and gotten them in better shape than they've been in a long time. That's why they leave.
But it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing thing.
That school environment is why if you look at most why they left, it's because they didn't feel like the principal was supporting them or backing them. Of course, some of them you want them to believe, so.
I just want to thank you for maintaining the master's degree stipend for $1,000. Because some beginning teachers will start at $41,000 to have a master's degree, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And then the most important thing is that improve instruction in the classroom. When the university town, and I'd like to see a lot of our teachers with a master's degree, this gives them an opportunity, and plus increases that salary, adds to that base salary. So we have some beginning teachers that have a master's, $40,000, they got another $1,000, and of course, the most important thing I mentioned is instruction in the classroom.
Right.
So if you can maintain that, that'd be fantastic. Yes.
Mr. Martin, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious how the stipends are determined within each department. Is there, how do you guys figure that?
Which stipend?
Well, just for example, I see here for the head band, they get
Oh,
$8,500.
okay, you're on the next page, okay.
Okay. Oh, we haven't gotten there. I'm sorry. Okay.
We're coming.
All right.
All right.
I'll save my question.
Mr. Smith, you,
Yes.
okay, you good?
Thank you.
Okay. Page 7. We made no changes to the athletic stipends for this year. Mr. Montoya, were you talking about athletic stipend, UIL
Well,
stipends?
I'm just curious how those stipends are determined all the way down the board, all the way down the line with, because I noticed all the stipends, they
The
all
amounts?
different. Yes, yes.
Okay, so we do studies, we have access to TASB's Data Central database, which shows us any district that participates in the survey across the state, we can get their data, and we compare ourselves to comparable districts with regard to enrollment and high school size or middle school size student enrollment. So we pull these stipends basically off of there and try to keep them competitive within that market as well as within our region.
Mr. Martin,
Sir?
The last 2 years, we did not have a golf program, of course, you knew that.
Yes, sir.
This year we have, and I believe we have maybe 1 or 2 participants. And the head coach is 8,500, which I don't have any problem with it. At the same time, let's say cross-country is a 7. Even though 7, both of them are half a year sports, if I make sense.
Mhm.
However, cross-country, they start in probably July, middle of July. I'm sorry, August, middle of August, because their season would be volleyball, cross-country, and football would be the same. Is this the same amount we paid last year?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Next question I have again, it says a football coordinator 8,500, just like any other head coach. That's
Mhm.
great. We discussed that 2 years ago, I believe that's what it was.
Yes,
and I
sir.
agree. But it says coordinator assistant 6,000. Isn't that considered another assistant coach, or is this for
That-
say a second sports?
That is another assistant coach. That's an assistant coach, yes, sir.
Another assistant coach in football.
Mhm.
That's correct?
Yes, sir.
So assistant football coach gets 6,000. Let's say assistant soccer coach, and not because I'm soccer coach, they go through Christmas holidays, they go through spring breaks, and also their season would be longer than football. Would be fair to be a 6,000 versus 3,000?
Okay, Coach, that's something we can definitely look into.
And you
We-
look at the size of the program also.
Right.
Are those coaches like that, though, is that mostly getting into their second sport?
It could be, and also you're looking at, again, as you say, you look at the region and model and
Right.
competition
Yeah.
to be competitive in the region.
Because that assistant up here in football could also be this assistant down here in like track
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
and all that.
Yes,
Could happen.
Right.
That's their second sport.
yes.
Some folks never sleep.
Well, middle school, they get 3 sports.
Page 8. We did make a couple of changes, they're noted in blue. First, we have Model UN stipend for $1,500, and we've added twirling stipend for $1,000. As well as for the middle school, we've added math counts for $500 stipend.
Those stipends were being paid before. They've been paid for years. They
Mhm.
just for some reason were omitted off of this.
Right.
I don't want to get to the minutia, but I have to say this every year.
I don't know.
Middle school stipends are pretty low. Those are the same stipends I was paying 15 years ago.
We'll take a look at it.
Huh?
I'm glad to take a look at it.
I'm just, not for your band people and some of those, but, you're getting a bargain for math counts for $500. And a cheerleader sponsor for $1,000, they're just doing it because
I love it.
Principal hoodwinked them into doing it.
We'd be happy to take a look at it.
But
Get the
at the
data.
same time, remember that I had to work really hard.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, that is a very, a little bit of this and that in that particular, the size of our budget, that's a small thing, but that's, I'm not gonna get into the detail.
Mr. Martin, I'm going to backpedal. Junior high coaches, how do they budget?
Sir?
For junior high coaches,
Yes, sir.
where their budget comes from? From their campus or their athletic budget?
Lisa, I'm going to defer to you.
Ask the question again, please.
Question is, the junior high coaches, male and female, where did their budget comes from, their pay?
Where they get
Where they
paid
get
from?
Right.
Where everybody gets paid from.
I mean, is it a part of stipends, athletic stipends? Is
The
it built
athletic
in this stipends, built in the athletic
What
budget?
he's asking is if you go to the campus or is it?
No, the campuses
Is it what you're asking?
do not, the campuses are not asked to come up with the funds for their stipends.
Okay, it's built in this athletic budget then?
Well, look up at the top on the middle school, it's got your middle school athletics.
Okay.
stipend.
Okay,
See it on the right?
right, okay, gotcha, thank you.
It's just all part of salaries.
They just get a flat rate, they don't get a.
I tell you what, they work hard.
Page 9. We've added supervisor of interns. What's that something before?
Our interns have to, as they're working towards their, I guess, certificate.
Certification
They
or
have to be
license.
supervised.
They have to have a supervisor.
Have they previously not been supervised?
No, they haven't.
No, they have. They have.
Have
We
we been
just-
paying for it?
Yes, it just
Yeah.
has not been on the
Hasn't been on the
schedule.
schedule.
I just wanted, on that stipend for bilingual social workers, is that 2,000 per worker, or is that 2,000 for each of the bilingual social workers you have?
For
Each
each of the,
person.
yeah, each person.
It's 2,000?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's pretty good, because when I worked, there was only 1,000.
See, we're improving.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, because, you know, that's a big step. I'm happy.
All right, page 10. Just a few changes here. First of all, social worker. We have looked at the market and made the determination that social workers need to be in a pay grade 2 rather than a pay grade 1. So you'll see that social workers has been removed from 1. Also, you see that we've added 9 through 12 law enforcement instructor. That position has always been there. We've just not listed in the book. And I didn't preference before I went into this presentation that we've taken a concerted effort to try to make our book more accurate and concise. So bear with us as we go through this, okay? Also, we've added executive administrative assistant to the superintendent and board. That position was formerly in the clerical pay grade. However, we've moved it in a more executive role as an exempt position. So we felt that it needed to be here rather than over in the clerical. Moving down to pay grade 2. We have,
Say that will make her exempt though from now.
She's already. She just more appropriately fits here. There's no
Yes.
change to
yeah, right.
salary or anything, it's just a better fit.
Pay grade 2,
She deserves more pay.
we agree. Pay grade 2, we've struck diagnostician actually and moved it into, to the pay grade 3 position. Again, looking at the market value, we feel like it better fits in pay grade 3. As well, we've added art facilitator to this pay grade.
That position was added mid-year this year. So
Okay.
now we're adding it in here.
Looking at pay grade 3, we are adding a testing coordinator. We've added the diagnostician from pay grade 2, as well as a data analysis, or a data analyst. We hired that position actually last year, and we're just adding it to the comp plan this year.
Some of these
reflect.
positions are getting higher pay because you're changing her. Some of these that we're talking about.
The diagnostician.
Yeah, some,
Yes.
some of them are, okay.
And then the coordinator of Parent and Patron Assistance Center. That is a position that,
I'll speak to that.
all right,
What I've noticed here is that we have two areas of need. One, we need someone that can be more responsive. Parents and patrons, right now, it's either him or Miss Anderson. And they're competing with a lot more stuff than they can really pay attention to someone's needs that are important, but aren't quite as urgent with their daily requirements. At least someone that can kind of be responsive, to not worry about test scores or budget or staffing, but just as an ombudsperson. How can I help you? How can I help you? Looking at that. And the PIE as a Partners in Education, we have a lot of volunteer efforts in the district and community, but we have no one to coordinate it. And they help kind of maybe even grow those things. This is someone that we're using a position to add this. So if you call in, you know, a lot of times they call just to ask information. And if we're trying to get a budget together or an agenda together, or there's some of the critical things, she probably can't take time out to say, well, you should be on this bus, you should be on that bus, you should be whatever it is. But this person can do that now.
So this is a new position?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
But it's purely just to be a resource for our parents and our
I assume
patrons.
that's part of that function 61 increase.
Yes, it is.
Makes sense to me.
And it's really a shifting and repurposing of resources.
Yes.
Mr. Fraser, would they be 10, 11, or 12-month employee? Have you decided yet? which-
A
Depends on-
minimum of 11, maybe even 12, because we have questions year-round.
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna have enrollment questions and whatnot, that if they're busy working on the schedule, the brain is in one area. And they may not be able to shift and be responsive to a question over here.
Yes.
That's very important. But they're competing with other important things more so now than they will with this person in place.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to pay grade 4. We have, again, in an attempt to kind of clean up our compensation plan, you see assistant principal, middle school, high school, associate principal, middle school, high school. Again, looking at the market, the market value, we have moved all of our directors, if you'll flip over,
Page 11.
page 11. We've moved all of our directors into one pay grade 5. And we're gonna strike all of the individual titles that go along with them. So if you're a director, you're in pay grade 5. Just to simplify things, make it cleaner. We feel like that this will help us in the future, going in the future. Also, if you look at the top of page 11, Technology Services Coordinator, if you recall, we had a director before in Technology Services, so we've reposted and hired a coordinator rather than a director for that position. And then, of course,
So we can assume coordinator level then would be pay grade 4?
4, yes, ma'am. Mhm. As well as we, again, through market studies, the LSSPs have moved up to pay grade 4. Those are the changes there.
Maybe I'm just missing it. Where are your elementary principals?
They're in there somewhere.
Your elementary principals, we're back on.
Apparently, pay grade 5 is we've got them struck out.
Did I?
That's our savings, no.
Assistant under pay grade 3.
Yeah,
That's an oversight.
Yeah, oh, yes.
That is an oversight.
So they should be in pay grade 5?
Yes, sir.
And they will still get paid, yes.
Yes, sir, that is an oversight. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
So that's the middle school principals,
That is the elementary.
elementary principals.
Yes, sir. Pay grade 6, your middle school principal, and your principal at the Martin Rector Technical High School. Pay grade 7, we have an executive director position there. And then pay grade 8, if you notice, again, in an attempt to clean up and be more concise, we have just assistant superintendent and chief officers will be located in that pay grade. Any questions on the administrative professional pay grades?
Make sure, just because the questions was asked a minute ago on like diagnosticians, when they move up a pay grade, if I remember correctly, just because they moved up a pay grade doesn't mean they automatically get a bump in pay. But because they move up a pay grade, that means their midpoint changes, which means when they get a raise, they'll get, like, when we got this 2%, they'll get a higher raise.
Well, we haven't done the raise on a midpoint. This is our 3rd year to do a flat.
Just a flat 2%.
Right.
So it's not helping them any by moving up a pay grade unless you give them a
Oh,
bump
right,
in salary.
correct. And they will get a bump in their salary by moving up.
Okay.
Yeah. right, moving on to the clerical and instructional employees.
Can I add something real quick? So
Please.
those were special ed positions that are very hard to fill. And, some of them have their PhDs. And anyway, we've had to go out, get some consultants because we
Well,
couldn't
that-
hire
That's what I wanted
any.
to say, a lot of them, because we've been so shorthanded with SPED and people have left and we couldn't replace them, a lot of our consultant fees have gone to providing services to
Right.
our kids.
So this is an effort to bring them in as an employee rather than consultants and to get good quality people in a special ed program.
At the top of page 13, you'll see that the administration is still recommending that paraprofessionals with a bachelor's degree receive a $500 per year stipend. Looking into pay grade 1, again, we're getting more concise. So we are, all the different terms of art that we call them, or titles here, we are classifying these folks as a aid 1. In pay grade 2, we're classifying such as the life skills special ed aid and others as aid 2s. And also, we're adding a crisis aid in that pay grade.
What will that be?
You know, it would be, we might
It's
as well
gonna be
just
an
call it
A,
an
it's gonna be an
A2.
A2.
But it was a new position that was added this year. I
Right.
guess that's why we
added
put it in there.
Yeah, that's why. So they will be an A2 as well.
That is a special ed aid in
I
a
was gonna say.
behavior.
Behavior.
Behavior unit?
Yeah. Pay grade 3, we have an ARD PEAMS clerk. Also, you will see that we are recategorizing our secretaries. So we'll also have like a secretary 1 through 4. You'll see that as we go on through the plan. And also you see A3 show up here. Doesn't mean that all of these positions are going away. We're just reclassifying them.
But some of them, like Gear Up is over, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Gear Up is coming off. It's absolutely coming. No questions? Page 14. Here you see, we come to Secretary 2, and then Aide 4 for pay grade 4. When we get to pay grade 5, we have Secretary 3, and we're just making a title change and a little bit of a job description change from administrative PEAMS assistant to PEAMS specialist.
The old title lends to sounding like a secretary, and that's not what she is.
Right. Pay grade 6, purchasing accounts payable specialist.
That is a position, I am just taking two, I'm taking my accounts payable clerk and then my purchasing specialist. They're gonna both become the same position, serving different campuses,
Just to restructure the department.
and have them, cross-trained.
You also see Secretary 4, pay grade 4 show up. And then payroll specialist, we just, again,
That's just a rename.
rename
That's
of
just
a,
rename, 'cause
is this,
her old name, her old title was finance clerk, but she's a payroll specialist.
Page 15, we have, again, you see quite a few strikeouts there, and we have added an administrative assistant. There will be one for,
Well, again, this is one of those things to improve customer service. We have Ms. Anderson serving the board, me, and Mr. Martin. That's not working well.
Yeah.
Mr. Martin is picking up a lot more responsibilities and has no clerical support at all. That may be why you missed the elementary principal thing. He was out at Brooks
Thanks,
Queen with
Mr. Fred.
another matter. Just trying to get this wrapped up. There's no clerical support for this lady either. And we're upgrading in communications to executive director, and to make sure we have folks that can reach out to the community and serve him, that person, that position, and the new PPAC PI person, and administrative assistant.
Thank you, Mr. Freeland.
Now that you don't have secretary specified by levels, like elementary, middle school, you got secretary 1, 2, or 3.
Yes.
Can a secretary, like at an elementary campus, by longevity and work and recommendation, move to a secretary 2?
In terms of compensation,
And jump compensation?
if they were to get to the far end of that pay grade, of pay range from minimum, mid to max, and come at someone on the minimum, on the beginning side, it could be pretty comparable in what they're actually bringing home. So, if
I guess where I come from is, the only thing that has ever had any questions with me is these secretaries at the elementary and middle school. They don't have all the resources available to them that the high schools got. And the high school secretary always makes a whole lot more money, but yet, they've got 3 people. I know it's a bigger campus, but it's not that much bigger.
we actually talked about that.
Your middle school principal and your elementary principal is
Right.
doing bookkeeper,
A lot
there's
less help.
secretary, bookkeeper, fundraiser, money keeper, they do everything on the campus. And, it's pretty,
No, I agree 100%. We're just looking at this is where we are right now.
well,
By having the categories as they are, then we can make objective decisions about, do we move that position up versus a personality, because we have the name tied to it.
but that's y'all's call. I'm just bringing up
But
points.
no, that's something I've heard before, and there's an argument to be made for it. It is.
Mr. Franley, I
Yes, ma'am.
believe I heard you said that you were changing your public relations director up to an executive
Executive
director,
director.
correct? Okay, so that's the change on page 11,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am. I think
So
that
that's not a new position, it's just a transfer.
it's change the position level. That's a very important part for the district, community relations and whatnot, and having the right personnel with the right support is critical.
I agree.
Just we're also just building that department back up. It was,
Yes,
they all
my
left us.
observation is hurting. No matter how good you're doing, if you can't tell your story, someone will tell it for you.
All right, and then page 15, we just totally eliminated pay grade 8.
You only one person anyway, I think, right?
There's one person in there. One person in there.
We changed where they are.
That's right. Page 17, to pay grade 3, we have added parking lot attendant. That position has formerly been known as security guard, but they really weren't a security guard. So we just changed the title there. That's the only thing that's changed from that regard. Take a look at page 18. There are really no changes. And then on page 19, excuse me, 20, we have no changes to either of those pay grades. That concludes the compensation plan proposed.
And you may want to put the draft on the front of this also, because we're still working on it.
Yeah.
Get ready to adopt your final budget, we'll have it all in place. Questions, thoughts?
Now, we've heard a lot of talk in the community about, difficulty getting HVAC and electricians and stuff. Are we doing okay keeping those positions filled?
They're currently filled, yes, ma'am. They're currently filled.
in the challenge, we have a lot of older facilities. It's gonna require a lot, that's why we didn't cut maintenance in operations, because that's very important to us. And those are things we'll be looking at.
Like you said, there's a lot of little things need to be taken care of now before it becomes expensive.
I failed to look, Mr. LaRue, does he show up on administration, or does he show up on, where is he?
He's a director,
He would be-
so he's in that pay grade 5 under administrative professional.
Any other questions? Does that conclude your presentation, Mr. Parker?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Neal. We stand adjourned.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.